topic for today is perfect for first-time buyers or anybody just wants to maybe refinance a current mortgage. So stay tuned and we'll be right back for some tips with Abbey Home Loans. Hello everyone, Maribel from SLO TV, and next to me is the owner of Abbey Home Loans, Suellen Iness. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Nice to have you.
Thanks for having us. Okay, Miss Suellen, I have the spotlight on you.
Uh-oh.
So tell me about this company.
Abbey Home Loans is 10 years old. We've been here since 2004. We started Abbey Home Loans. Prior to that, we were in the same building for 6 years. We were still mortgage brokers, but we weren't Abbey Home Loans. And we are a small company. We're very up close and personal with our clients. We find that they really become our friends, and so we can, really help them to relax, get to know the process, that we don't want them to be nervous about asking any questions. And also, if there's any issues, we want to be able to work with them and work them out. So we are really happy to work with all of our clients. We really enjoy being in the community. My line is I always want to be able to walk in the grocery store and see people and smile and not have anybody upset. So.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so as a first-time home buyer, do you have any tips or anything, ideas, information you want to give us, the do's and the don'ts maybe?
One of the things that I always tell first-time home buyers is that the earlier they talk to a mortgage professional, the better. Because even if they think it's going to be a year before they have their money saved up for a down payment or whatever, to come in, sit down, talk through the process, see if there are any issues, if there's any credit issues. And sometimes there are issues that they aren't even aware that could cause a glitch, I also tell people not to make any major purchases the year before they want to buy, If you're going to buy a car, the day after you buy a house, you probably will still qualify to buy a car, but that payment could ruin it for you. And what I see a lot of times is people, the way they're paying down their credit cards or whatever, they're closing accounts, and that can be detrimental. So the earlier, I work with people sometimes for a full year before they're ready, but that way they can come in, we kind of decide what is important and how they're going to proceed, and, and then if they are going to make a major purchase, they usually call me and say, how should we do this? Should we do it?
So now as far as building a credit, what tips could you give us?
Credit scores are one of the most important aspects of purchasing anything. Your credit score is even used when you get car insurance. Everything is based on your credit score, and yet it's the one subject that we never get taught. So one of the things that we see happen is as people are paying off their debts, they'll close their credit cards. Well, the credit scoring concept to get your score is that it's evaluating the information on your credit report. If you have had good history with a credit card, the minute you close an account, it goes away. So the scoring model cannot even see that you've had that good credit all those times. So your score will drop. So I tell people if they want to pay them off or pay them down, but do not close the account, because that is detrimental. And that's probably the biggest issue that I see, the hardest thing that people do that hurt their scores, that they're totally unaware of. The other thing is if you've got two $5,000 cards and they each have $2,200 on them, don't combine them. Some people think, oh, well, then I'll combine them and then I'll only have one credit card. But now you've got $4,400 on a $5,000 card, so you're more than 90% on that card, or just about at 90% on that card. And now it looks like you overuse your credit, and so your scores will drop.
Got it.
So there's just little things that you can do. That's why I say start early. Come and talk to us. I certainly don't mind, and we just kind of run through the scenarios.
Okay, well, speaking of credit scores, do you have any tips as far as how to prevent identity theft?
The best thing I can tell people for identity theft, it's such a huge issue these days. And, when companies like Target and Home Depot can get broken into, obviously, there's only a few things we can do. One is I personally use a PayPal, because you're not entering your credit card number every time. You're just, and PayPal will they back you. They'll help you if something happens and your cards get used. But that way you're not inputting your credit card number into any independent website. That's probably one of the best things to do to keep it.
And then now when I'm ready to buy my own home,
yes,
what tips can you tell me or give me to save?
Well, one thing I tell people to do, if you're thinking of buying a house and now you've already talked to your mortgage broker and you kind of have an idea of what your price range is and you have an idea of what your payment's going to be. Say your rent is $1,800 a month, but you know your house payment's going to be $2,500 a month. I tell you, on the first of every month, you put $2,500. You take that extra $7 and put it in a savings account and pay your rent with the other $18. But that way, you're literally making that $2,500 payment. You're saving, but it's helping you to get used to that expenditure and know that you'll be comfortable with it. You know, how often have you bought a car or something and the first couple you're like, oh my God, how am I going to make this payment? And then after 6 months you're like, it is what it is. So you need to get used to that extra debt, and that's one of the best ways to save.
Great. Okay, well, do you have any more helpful tips that you want to throw out there?
Credit is the biggest issue. We want to run your credit and make sure there aren't any errors on your credit report. I've literally ran people's credit and found out somebody else's bankruptcy was on their credit report, or a foreclosure.
Scary.
Because remember, it's just a number if somebody keys in the information wrong, I found where somebody has 11 late payments on a car loan from SLO, and what happened was, and then the other SLO account is perfect. One of the times they put it into the computer, the number was put in wrong. And so that account that had just been created has no payments going to it. So, very easy to correct, but nobody knows. It was a typo someplace. It's so easy. It's interesting that it's so easy to get your credits messed up and so difficult to get it cleaned up. But we walk through the steps with you. If you have credit issues, if you've had a bankruptcy or a foreclosure, 3 years after that, you're good to buy again. But we still need to clean up the excess data that's on your credit report, because so often, even if something's included in a bankruptcy, the lender or the account holder hasn't zeroed it out on your credit report, and so it's still harming you, where all we need to do is submit the bankruptcy papers and get it cleared up. But credit is such a whether you're a first-time home buyer, you're a doctor or lawyer, the person who I said somebody else's bankruptcy got put on the report was a doctor. And we ran his credit, and he's like, "What?" I said, "But there was another file had gotten merged into his credit report." So you can be the highest valued borrower and still have issues that have that are totally unrelated to what you've been doing with your co-signing. I tell you, do not co-sign for anyone, because even though you're co-signing, one of the things I see parents do is they'll co-sign for the son's car. The son will give them a check for that amount of money every month, or cash for that amount of money, and the parents are making the payment. Well, that means that I have to include that debt into their debt ratios. Even if they co-sign for a car, if they had a checking account for the son and the son was making a payment every time, then we could show that someone else is making the payment. We don't have to include that into their debt ratios. So a lot of times it's not so much that and they're certainly not doing anything wrong, it's just they don't know the consequences. So
well, thank you. These are some grateful tips. So now where can we find Abbey Home Loans? Where can we find
Abbey Home Loans? Is on Grand Avenue in Arroyo Grande. We're directly across the street from the Girls Restaurant, and it's 1248 East Grand Avenue, but the Girls Restaurant's been there so long that's the best icon for us. My phone number is 805-481-5575, and we are here by appointment. I do evening appointments. I do Saturdays. I've met people on Sundays. And then our website is www.abbeyhomeloans.com. Abbey is spelled with an E, ABBEY, homeloans.com. And so we can, any time you want to get in contact with us, we will see what we can do.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for having us.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. Thanks.
Maribel from SLO TV. We are outro. Stay tuned. It's www.slotv.net, and the show is produced by Miranda Marketing Labs, www.mirandamarketinglabs.com.